This is the BBC.
This podcast is supported by advertising outside the UK.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Now, you might think playful and uncompromising approaches to gender labelling and all that malarkey is a recent phenomenon, but what of Vincent Damon Furnier, born in Detroit, Michigan, to an evangelist father in the year President Truman signed the Marshall Plan, 1948, folks. He's better known as Alice Cooper. He's the godfather of shock rock and has been since his band was signed by Frank Zappa in 1969, and he accomplished his ambition, as listed in his high school yearbook, to sell 1 million records. His stage show became famous, notorious for the heavy use of props like electric chairs and guillotines, for fake blood and real boa constrictors. And Alice has also appeared in a dark suite of horror films. He continues to tour the world and has become something of an international treasure, though I don't know he would thank me for that. But he certainly qualifies as an Inheritance Tracks donor. He came into Saturday Live at bbc.co.uk and donated.
My inheritance track is Train Kept A-Rollin' by the Yardbirds. It's an old blues song redone by the Yardbirds, the brilliant Yardbirds. Tiny Bradshaw did this song earlier on, but this is Train Kept A-Rollin'. Every band in the world has to know this song. The amazing thing is, with the British bands that came out, the Yardbirds, the Kinks, the Who, the Rolling Stones, Beatles, they were all selling us back our own music. They were selling us back the blues songs, but as 15, 16-year-old kids, we didn't know anything about the blues, but we appreciated the way that they attacked them. My parents loved music. In fact, my mom and dad were jitterbug champions during the 40s. They had trophies. My dad played sax, but my dad was also a pastor. My dad was a minister. My grandfather was an evangelist. And I grew up in a Christian home. But my dad loved the Beatles, loved the Stones, loved the Yardbirds. All those bands, my dad would sit and go, yeah, those guys are cool. Very. Of course, he realized it was based in the blues. He knew about the blues way before I did. We were very impressed with British rock. For some reason, when that train starts rolling on stage, you can't stop it. It just rocks. Well, we were all on the track and cross country team. We were all distance runners, 1,500 meters, 3,000 meters. And the three of the guys in the original band were long distance runners. And we would get up on stage and sing, "I'll beat you, yeah, yeah, yeah." We changed the lyrics to track songs, about running. And we had Beatle wigs on and the whole thing like that. And it was just a farce, just to do something funny, because it was a play on Beatlemania. But what it did was it planted that seed. And as soon as we did that kind of, silly thing on stage, we all looked at each other and we got to get 2 guitar players. And we started right then. I mean, we became a band right then. Oh, yeah, I still run, yeah. That's something that gets in your blood and you can't stop doing it. It's like rock and roll. I've never gotten tired of rock and roll. I've never gotten tired of the Pete Townsend power chord or the Jeff Beck lead or the Keith Moon drums. To me, that's the most exciting sound in the world. We spend all of our time writing music and playing music in the studio and trying to get better like everybody else does.
So good, Jack couldn't let it go. Get along, sweet little woman, get along.
When we did Schools Out, I said, if this isn't a hit, then I should be selling shoes somewhere. I was so convinced on that. I didn't understand the fact that it was going to be an anthem that was going to go on forever. School's Out forever, School's Out completely. It was a bit of a tribute to the Yardbirds, that song, because there's a lot of underneath what the guitars are doing and the drums and everything are definitely Yardbird influenced. The track that I'd like to pass on is a sort of a one-hit wonder, Thunderclap Newman, Something in the Air. For some reason, this has an ethereal kind of thing to it. It's the chord structure and everything like that. It's just one of those songs that will live on and on and on.
And you know it's right. And you know that it's right.
Thunderclap Newman really didn't make a lot of other songs, which was a little disappointing. I kind of wanted to hear 2 or 3 more albums, but sometimes you just get that one song that is perfect. You know, it was one of those songs that I think that speaks to everybody. When you find an anthem is a song that will speak to generations later on. Well, we sang in church. You know, I was sort of the prodigal son. I grew up in the church and went as far away as I could and then came back because it was missing in my life. I was missing that relationship with Jesus. You know, I quit drinking and smoking and doing all the stuff that rock stars do 38 years ago. And that's why I'm still here. Or I would have gone the way of the 27 Club, you know, all the guys that passed away at 27. And those guys were all my friends, you know, Jim Morrison and Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin. They were like my big brothers. So I watched them all drop off at 27, and that kind of turned a little light on in my head.
We have got to get it together now.
My dad and mom, they never tried to stop me as far as musically. In fact, my dad says, hey, I love the music. He said, the lifestyle is something I worry about. He says, and that's something I can't condone. Being a pastor, you know, sleeping around and taking drugs and things like that. And that's what was normal in the 60s and 70s. And I went all through that. But I did come out the other end, you know, without dying from it. Probably healthier at 73 than I was when I was 28. I'd like to pass on this song to the next 25,000 generations. I think every generation will relate to this song because there's always going to be a political problem. But, you know, we got to get together sooner or later because the revolution's here.
We got to get together sooner or later.
I don't think they're talking about a revolution, a physical revolution. I think they're talking about a social revolution where everybody's accepted, you know, where everybody is equal. And that was written a long, long time ago. And look at how much that's in focus now. You know, how much more will it be in focus 20, 30 years from now? That's what makes the song important.
We have got to get it together now.
Well, now those are the inheritance tracks of Alice Cooper. We applaud them, we applaud him, and we very much applaud his new album, Detroit Stories, and it's out now. Hope you enjoyed those inheritance tracks. There are many, many more of them awaiting your pleasure.